right, Commission Radio Show. Bernadette, that is not Don Diego, but thank you for listening in on the Commission Radio Show featuring Ed Gray. But we will tell you who that is. If you were listening in last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had Jeff Aycock was our guest. Jeff Aycock was our guest. And I'd like to send a shout out. Thank you again, Bernadette, for listening in. Thank you again, as always, supporting us. But I would like to go ahead and send a shout out to Facebook. Do not cut our music off, because the music that you're listening to, Facebook and Facebook family and friends, is all music that's produced here locally by local artists. Local artists indeed. And today, as you know, I'm doing Black History Month, which is Black History Month for me is from January 1st to December 31st. Every day for me is Black History for me, because that's what I do. I'm a historian. And historians, we like to hang out with other historians. So we would like to send a shout out to the people at the Dallas African American Museum. I understand Kevin Felder is listening in right now. Councilman Kevin Felder is listening in. Next week, the Commission Radio Show, we will run an archive, because I will be moderating an event called Slavery in Texas. And that will have Dr. Marvin Delaney there. And also that same day, Councilman Felder will be moderating a part of the program, which will have the descendants of Sally Hemings and President Thomas Jefferson. All of that right here in sunny South Dallas, where the sun never stops shining. So the sun never stops shining in history, and this is why we have today Dr. George Keaton Jr. How you doing, sir?
Very good.
Good to see you. How you been, man?
Very well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Good. I am so thrilled to have you here on the show. We've talked for quite some time, for about the last hour, not the last hour, but the last year or so.
Yes.
About that. And we wanted to get you in during this last hour of the Commission Radio Show to talk about Black Dallas and remembering Black Dallas. So it's a lot of information we have in such a short period of time, but I would like to say that the tour that you've given is just, it's an underrated tour. I think you need to have more work. I think you need to do this every day.
Well, we certainly will. If the demand is there, we'll make it happen.
Okay. Well, tell us about yourself and tell us about remembering Black Dallas.
Well, about myself, first of all, I'm a native of Dallas, and I've been here for the past, all my life. And then my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents are descendants, and we came here in 1863 with the slave masters on my mother's side, and from the hair on my father's side, the Keatons. So basically, Remember Black Dallas started about this coming January. At the end of this month, rather, be our 4th year anniversary. We'll be celebrating on January the 26th, and that will be 4 years for us, and we've done quite a bit over the past 4 years.
But wait a minute, January 26th, that's the date that I'm going to be on the tour with you, right?
That's right.
And that's a 4-year anniversary?
That's our anniversary. Well, the 31st is actually our anniversary, but we're celebrating on the 26th.
Okay,
that evening after the tour.
Okay, that's SMU Human Rights Program, the Embry Human Rights Program.
Right.
We're taking a tour with you. And where are we going?
We're going to start there at SMU. There's a exhibit of J.L. Turner, Attorney J.L. Turner, who was one of the first African-American lawyers from Dallas. And when I say the first native African-American. There were 2 or 3 before him, but we'll start there at the exhibit, and we'll be going to some some property that was owned by African Americans such as Anderson Bonner, and also we'll be going to Little Egypt and parts of Fields community, which is all out in that area, and also the White Rock Cemetery, which is where most of those descendants are entombed there.
White Rock Cemetery?
White Rock Cemetery is a very little unknown cemetery, but it's an African American cemetery of about 2 acres. And I am the president and have been the president for almost 30 years there at that cemetery. And it's the people who own the land where you see the Galleria, the Valley View, Medical Cities, they're all buried there in that particular cemetery.
The Galleria?
This near their own property where the Galleria now sits. and the other mall that's down the street, Valley View, as well.
Okay.
And there was a little town there called Alpha, Texas, where Mount Pisgah originated.
Mount Pisgah.
Mount Pisgah and
And you
Christian
said Alpha,
Chapel.
Texas?
Alpha, Texas.
Like Alpha Road?
Right. That's where
Okay.
Alpha, Texas, and was originated there. A black settlement. Yes.
Wait a minute. Alpha Road is actually named after a black settlement?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It was a little
And
city.
now
there.
you know.
And now you know.
Now you know.
As well as Inwood.
All right, you throwing me in with this one.
Well,
Go ahead with that one.
Inwood was a small town or area, which is where J.L. Turner was born. A lawyer, J.L. Turner, was born there in Inwood, and it became a street, of course, just like Alpha.
So Alpha Road is named after Alpha, Texas, which was a black settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And Inwood Road was named after Inwood, Texas, which was a black settlement.
Town, yes,
Black town.
settlement. Mm-hmm.
See, this is the deal, people, that I like to encourage people to do is to know your history. And there is a lot of history here. And we had Mr. Larry Castro, who's running for mayor of Dallas. You know, we need to have more of this. We need to have more of this information out there.
Well, it's available. All they have to do is call and let us know. We do private and group tours. A lot of tours in the summer for family reunions, but churches and organizations and groups, they often ask and call for to have reunions, but tours, but it's usually in the summertime. But I'm available all year round.
Okay, now you said your family was here since 1863.
Right. On my mother's side, my maternal line. My great-grandfather came here with his slave master father, and they've been here ever since. They were running from freeing of slaves, so they came to Texas. Which
From Louisiana?
No, from Missouri.
Missouri?
Which was still they were doing away with slavery, so they came to Texas because Texas was still holding slaves. So they were coming here to hold on and maintain their slaves.
Wow.
Mhm.
Since 1860. So when people talk about Dallas, I've been in Dallas X amount, you said no, that ain't true.
Right.
Yeah, give me something else.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and you went to school. Where did you go to school?
High school or college?
High
I
school.
went high school.
Both of them since
Well,
then.
high school I went to Skyline when
Skyline.
they first opened, and then also went to North Texas State University. Went to
Now you date yourself. You said North Texas State.
okay, it's called now.
You
What is it
University
now?
of North Texas.
Well, it's still North
The
Texas State for me.
University. So
Right.
like East Texas
Right.
State University,
Right.
Texas A&M Commerce.
Right.
It's East
UT.
Texas.
It's UT. What is it now?
University of Texas Commerce or something like that.
Right.
I don't know.
University of Texas. I forgot. But anyway, I'm at old school. North Texas State University
Yeah.
is where I went, and now it's changed names, of course.
Yeah. Now, what was your major?
My major when I went was music, and then I changed to education because they were phasing music out of the Dallas ISD schools, and I wanted a job. So I changed and went a fifth year to North Texas and got an education degree. And then I went on to get other degrees at other schools.
How many degrees you have?
4.
4. You
I
just
believe 4, right?
You believe 4?
Well, I haven't really
You say
counted.
I just
Yeah.
get them. I don't count them, man. But you know, hey, you're remembering Black Dallas 4 years.
Right.
4 years, and I'm looking at some of the products that you have here. You have let's talk about the cookbook first of all.
The cookbook. The cookbook is recipes that are very simple, and they're from people who actually lived in Dallas. Most of them lived in Dallas and natives, and they're vintage cook recipes that come from people who lived in Ellen Pickett, North Dallas, and different areas of Dallas. The majority of those recipes are from this area. And some of the people, if they were living, will be well over 100 years old.
And then you have some other people that are just Chef Cassandra Armstrong.
Right. We have some recent
Right.
people here also.
Okay, this is good. This is
Mhm.
good. How much is the cookbook? And
The
what can it do?
cookbooks are $20, and they can be ordered online on our website, which is rememberingblackdallas.org, and as well as the calendars, which will all be the
Okay,
new
let's see the
calendars
calendar.
will be available after this Saturday. These are some of the ones that we've had in the past, and we've done one each year, and they really have been a staple for our funding and operational costs. So it's been very good through the advertisement and the purchasing of the different calendars. We've been able to maintain and operate just off of the calendars mainly, and the cookbooks as well.
Okay, yeah, but the calendar. I'm gonna look through the calendar here just
Okay,
briefly.
and the first picture on there is the settlement of where my great grandfather. That's Othello Beck. He did a rendition of the actual picture, which I think is on the flip side. And he wanted to draw that picture. He came to my house one day and saw the picture, and Othello Beck decided that he wanted to draw that picture. And that's a picture of my grandfather, my great grandmother, and her oldest son. And that was after, of course, after slavery. And they managed quite well and acquired about 90 acres near the Cooper Center, near Preston Road and 635, all the way back to Hillcrest.
Well, wait a minute. You're talking about North Dallas. Way
North Dallas,
North
right.
Dallas. You know, this
Right
is,
across from McShan Lane is where his property was.
Okay.
On the other side of Preston Road. And that was their home.
From Joplin, Missouri, you settled in the Dallas area in the mid-1800s.
Right.
All right. Okay. Your family's done quite a bit. I understand you have some family members in, I think, Oklahoma, right?
Yes, I have some members in Oklahoma. I guess you're referring to Clara Looper.
Right.
She was a civil rights activist. She was a cousin to J.L. Turner, Attorney J.L. Turner Sr. Attorney J.L. and my grandfather were first cousins, so she was quite active, and she just passed away maybe a couple of years ago.
This is great. This is great. And your calendar has, for every day of the year, it has something on it that occurred in Dallas.
In Dallas history, right?
Now, we were playing music earlier today, and some of the music that we were playing, as I was telling Facebook, don't turn us off because we own the rights to the music. The Dallas history scene when it comes to music, wherever it appears to be with black folk and culture, music plays a large part of that. Could you tell us about some of the Dallas history of music?
The Dallas history of music, well, basically, what I can say is that a lot of it was delivered in Deep Ellum. We had many blues players, and also even in the North Dallas area, which is called Uptown now. When I say North Dallas, I'm referring to what now is known as Uptown. So in Uptown, in that area, that's where the stronger black community lived, and also in the Deep Ellum. And Deep Ellum actually being a freedman's town, a lot of it originated in that area. And you have, of course, T-Bone Walker and the Blind Lemon and the Lead Belly, the different blues singers that performed on the streets, and they would toss money, and even white people came in the dark to listen and to hear them perform on the streets.
So the Dallas music scene rivaled that of New Orleans and Kansas City.
With Deep Ellum, mostly.
Deep Ellum.
Right.
Right.
That's where it was,
So
done mostly in this
the
area.
blues area.
Right.
Blues, not necessarily jazz, but
Right.
blues.
Right.
So who were they again? T-Bone Walker?
T-Bone Walker and Blind Lemon was a staple in Deep Ellum, and Lead Belly, he was one of the, and there were some female singers there too. I can't call their names right now, but there were quite a few, and they would just perform on the street on Deep Ellum. And so that's where the heart and the sort of like the red light district of the music was. But you also had it in the Uptown area as well. I mean, they performed there, and they had little clubs and things where they would perform.
Now, is it true that Ray Charles lived in Dallas?
Yes, Ray Charles lived in Dallas. He moved here in 55, I believe, but he stayed at a hotel called Green Acres, which just was really demolished just this past year, right there off of Ross Avenue. And I can't think of the cross street, maybe Ross and Hall near there was a club called, not a club, but a hotel motel called Green Acres. He stayed there a while before he moved to his home on Eugene, and he stayed there for about 2 or 3 years until 58. And it was a club there, and Fats, I can't think of the guy's name, but he performed there in an area in clubs there, and they would come there.
David Fathead?
Fathead Newman, that's what I'm trying to think of. They were very good friends, and they performed at clubs, local clubs around the area, the Palladium, the Rose Room, and all of those types of clubs that were.
How long did Ray Charles live here?
About 3 years. He moved here in 55, and I think he left in 58.
In 55, 58, and then I
Right.
think like 59, 60, he got really big. So
He was
really,
gone,
really
yeah,
big.
he was gone by at the end of 58, right.
Right. Wow.
And
Wow.
his home is still there where he lived.
Oh, is it Ray Charles' home is in Dallas?
Yeah, he had one in Dallas. So I can't say he owned it, but he lived there
You live there?
on Eugene Street.
Because you know how Ray was, you know, he just lived there. You know, wherever he laid his hat was his home.
But that's where he stayed.
See,
I can say that.
Yeah,
right.
that's it. Yeah.
For 3
See, we
years.
talking black talk now, not live there. We was where?
He stayed.
Yeah,
And
he stayed there.
his wife was there with him.
No, but he lived there.
Yeah, he lived there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. That's it. When we come back after the break, we will talk a little bit more about, about what we can do about saving Dallas history. I wish I would have got with you before about the hotel that he lived on Ross.
Right.
It appears that there was a lot of hotels and places on Ross Avenue
Right.
that black people owned or lived.
Well, it's segregated hotels, and they had to have a place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Wooten, and I'm the owner of Center of Attraction Hair Gallery. And when I want to be informed about what's going on within the DFW communities, I tune in every Saturday to the Commission